A crack formed across the fabric of reality, silent, impossible, and glowing with power no world was prepared to understand. It happened above Manhattan at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, during what Vought International had carefully orchestrated as a routine rescue operation. The script was simple. A hijacked bus filled with screaming passengers, Homelander arriving in a perfect beam of golden sunlight, cameras positioned at optimal angles to capture his chiseled jaw and billowing cape. The hijackers were paid actors. The bus driver was on Vought's payroll. Even the screaming children had been coached on which direction to look for maximum emotional impact. Homelander floated 30 feet above Park Avenue, arms crossed, that practiced smile gleaming for the news helicopters circling like vultures. His cape rippled in wind generated by hidden fans on nearby rooftops. Everything was perfect, everything was controlled. Then the sky tore open. The fissure appeared directly above Times Square, a jagged wound in the atmosphere that burned with colors that shouldn't exist. Reality buckled. Glass windows across 6 city blocks simultaneously shattered. Car alarms screamed in unison. Every camera pointed at Homelander suddenly went static, their feeds corrupted by an electromagnetic pulse that shouldn't have been possible. Something fell through the rift. No, not fell. Crashed. Like a meteor wrapped in yellow fabric and red gloves. The impact point was a Starbucks on 42nd Street. The building didn't explode so much as it ceased to exist, atomized by kinetic force that carved a crater 40 feet deep into Manhattan bedrock. The shockwave flattened everything within a 2-block radius. Parked cars tumbled end over end like toys. Pedestrians were thrown off their feet. The carefully staged bus flipped onto its side, its paid actors genuinely screaming now. Dust and debris mushroomed into the sky, obscuring the impact site. News helicopters fought to maintain altitude against the turbulent air. Every camera in the city swiveled toward the crater, abandoning Homelander's staged heroics for genuine catastrophe. In his penthouse office at Vought Tower, Ashley Barrett watched 17 monitors simultaneously go dark. Her phone erupted with calls. Her assistant burst through the door without knocking. Tablet thrust forward, showing seismograph data that registered the impact as a 4.2 earthquake. "What the was that?" she screamed into her headset, her carefully maintained composure shattering like the windows across Midtown. The dust began to settle, and something moved in the crater. Camera drones scrambled to get closer, their feeds broadcasting to every screen in America. What emerged from the smoke shouldn't have been alive. Nothing could survive an impact that left a crater in solid Manhattan bedrock. Nothing human, anyway. But the figure that climbed out of the destruction was painfully, impossibly human. A bald man in a yellow jumpsuit with a white cape. Red gloves, red boots. An expression of mild confusion on an utterly ordinary face. He looked like a cosplayer who'd taken a wrong turn at Comic-Con, except for the complete absence of injuries, burns, or even dust on his ridiculous outfit. Saitama stood in the center of the crater and scratched his head, surveying the devastation with the interest of someone who'd accidentally taken the wrong subway exit. "Huh," he said to nobody in particular. "This isn't my apartment." A news helicopter swooped low enough to catch his words. Within seconds, the phrase, "This isn't my apartment," was trending on Twitter with 17,000 retweets. Homelander's smile had frozen into something terrible. His hands clenched into fists, leather gloves creaking. Nobody upstaged him during a scheduled heroic moment. Especially not some bald nobody in a costume that looked like it came from a Halloween clearance sale. He dropped from the sky like a missile, landing 20 feet from Saitama with enough force to crack the pavement. His cape settled around him in perfect, practiced folds. The cameras loved it. America loved it. He was their god in red, white, and blue. And this bald fraud had just committed the sin of stealing his spotlight. "I don't know what you are," Homelander said, his voice carrying that artificial warmth that had sold $1 billion in merchandise. But you've just attacked American citizens on American soil. Stand down now, or I'll put you down. Saitama looked up at him. Really looked. With eyes that had seen monsters level cities and cosmic horrors tear through dimensions. What he saw was a man in a costume with flags on his shoulders, trying very hard to look intimidating. "Do I know you?" Saitama asked. The question wasn't sarcastic. It was genuine. Saitama genuinely didn't recognize the most famous superhero on Earth. The face on every billboard, every commercial, every magazine cover from Times Square to Tokyo. Homelander's eye twitched. "I'm Homelander," he said, his voice dropping an octave into something dangerous. "I'm the greatest superhero who ever lived, and you just made the worst mistake of your life." "Oh." Saitama glanced at the destroyed Starbucks, the overturned cars, the fleeing civilians. "Sorry about the mess. I was fighting something and then I'm not really sure what happened. Is this still Japan?" "Japan?" Homelander's laugh was sharp, brittle. "You're in New York, you bald. And you're about to find out what happens when you interrupt." A phone rang. Not Homelander's. One of the news producers' phones, the feed playing through the helicopter speakers that everyone could hear. "We're getting reports that the stranger survived an impact, calculated at over 300 miles per hour. No visible injuries. Repeating, no visible injuries." How is that possible? Homelander's the only one who could survive something like... The broadcast cut off as someone with more sense killed the feed. But the damage was done. The question was out there, floating in the minds of everyone watching. The impossible question that threatened the very foundation of Vought's carefully constructed mythology. What if Homelander wasn't the strongest? 6 blocks away, in a basement surveillance room that officially didn't exist, Billy Butcher leaned forward in his chair, studying the bald man on the monitor with the intensity of a predator spotting wounded prey. "Well, well," he murmured, his British accent thick with anticipation. "Ain't that interesting?" Huey looked up from his laptop, eyes wide behind his glasses. "Billy, the seismic data doesn't make sense. The impact should have killed him instantly. It should have vaporized him, but he just walked out." "I can see that, Huey." "And did you hear what he said? He doesn't know who Homelander is. He doesn't know where he is. He's not from here." Butcher's smile was sharp as broken glass. "No, he's not. And that makes him either the answer to every prayer I've ever had." He watched Homelander's face on the screen, saw the rage building behind those ice-blue eyes. Or the beginning of something much, much worse. On the street, Homelander's heat vision began to glow red. The cameras caught it, all of them. Millions of viewers held their breath, and Saitama, completely oblivious to the global audience watching his every move, just sighed. "Look, I don't want any trouble," he said tiredly. "I just want to figure out where I am and how to get home. Do you know if there's a hero association around here?" Homelander's heat vision flared brighter. "Wrong answer," he whispered, and the world's most famous hero attacked. The heat vision hit Saitama at approximately 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit, enough temperature to melt through reinforced steel, vaporize concrete, and reduce a human body to ash in milliseconds. Homelander held the beam steady for a full 3 seconds, pouring every ounce of solar radiation stored in his cells into the attack. The cameras captured everything in high definition. When the crimson glow faded, Saitama stood in the exact same position, completely unharmed. His yellow jumpsuit wasn't even singed. He blinked a few times, then reached up and wiped some residual heat from his face, like someone brushing away cigarette smoke. "That was rude," he said flatly. Homelander's smile vanished. His brain, so used to absolute superiority, struggled to process what his eyes were showing him. The heat vision always worked. It cut through everything. It was proof of his godhood, his fundamental superiority over the mud people who worshipped him. "What the are you?" he whispered. Before Saitama could answer, Homelander moved. He crossed 20 feet in a microsecond, his fist accelerating to supersonic velocity, aimed directly at Saitama's face with enough force to demolish a city block. The punch connected. The shockwave shattered every remaining window within a quarter-mile. The sonic boom ruptured eardrums. News helicopters were blown sideways by the pressure wave. Saitama's head moved approximately 1 inch to the left. Then it didn't move at all. He'd absorbed kinetic energy equivalent to a tactical nuclear warhead with the same effort most people use to lean into a gentle breeze. Homelander's fist was still pressed against Saitama's cheek. He pushed harder. Veins bulged in his neck. His teeth ground together. He poured every molecule of compound V-enhanced strength into that single point of contact. Saitama's head didn't move. "Are you done?" Saitama asked, his voice slightly muffled by the fist against his face. Homelander stumbled backward, breathing hard, his perfect hair finally disheveled. His mind raced through scenarios, calculations, impossibilities. Nothing survived his heat vision. Nothing withstood his strength. He was America's Superman, the pinnacle of human evolution, a god in flesh and... "The bald fraud," Ashley Barrett announced into her phone, her voice sharp with the efficiency of someone turning a crisis into an opportunity. "That's what we're calling him. Get it trending now." In Vought Tower's Crisis Management Center, 24 PR specialists moved with the coordinated precision of a military operation. Within 90 seconds, bot farms across 5 continents began flooding social media with a carefully crafted narrative. "Unknown terrorist attacks NYC. Homelander responds. Bald fraud. Sir, Vought protects. Supervillain survives hero confrontation through unknown technology. Threat level, extreme. Experts say bald fraud may be using advanced body armor. Vought scientists investigating. The hashtag bald fraud hit trending in 8 minutes. By minute 12, it was #1 worldwide. Madeline Stillwell would have been proud. On the street, Homelander floated backward, putting distance between himself and this impossible bald man. His mind worked frantically behind his perfect smile, cycling through options. If strength didn't work, if heat vision failed, then he needed to control the narrative before America saw what he refused to acknowledge: fear. "You're a terrorist," Homelander announced, his voice booming across the crater, pitched perfectly for the cameras. "Using illegal technology to attack innocent Americans. But you've made one mistake." He spread his arms wide, ascending higher, the sun glinting off his polished costume. "You picked a fight with me." Saitama watched him rise with the expression of someone observing a particularly enthusiastic street performer. "I'm not a terrorist," he said reasonably. "I'm a hero, Class B, rank 7, actually. Though I should really be higher ranked after that last..." "Liar!" Homelander's shout echoed between buildings. "Heroes don't destroy city blocks. Heroes don't..." "You just tried to burn my face off," Saitama interrupted, his tone suggesting he was pointing out something obvious to a child. "I was just standing here." The comment hung in the air. Several news producers scrambled to cut their feeds, but independent streamers caught every word. On social media, the narrative began to fracture. Someone posted side-by-side footage. Homelander attacking first, Saitama just standing there. Wait, did Homelander attack an unarmed man? Re-watching, the bald guy literally just asked for directions. Vought explained why your hero tried to murder someone asking for help? Ashley Barrett watched the social media feeds deteriorate in real time and screamed at 3 different department heads simultaneously. Meanwhile, 6 blocks away, Billy Butcher watched the confrontation with the focused intensity of a man who just found the exact tool he needed to dismantle an empire. You seeing this?" he said into his comm. "I'm seeing it," Mother's Milk replied from the van outside. "Don't mean I'm believing it. Nobody tanks Homelander like that. Nobody." "Well, someone just did." Butcher zoomed in on Saitama's face, studying the absolute boredom in those eyes. "Huey, pull everything you can find on bald superhumans. Check the Sage Grove files, international databases, everything." "Already on it," Huey said, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "But Billy, there's nothing. No records, no DNA matches." No sightings before today. It's like he just appeared. Because he did appear, you daft cunt. Fell out of the ink sky like a gift from God. Butcher's smile was vicious. And he don't know who Homelander is, which means he ain't from around here. Which means he ain't been bought, trained, or corrupted by Vought. Frenchie leaned over Huey's shoulder, squinting at the screen. His costume, it is very simple, none. No armor, no tech, no Vought branding, just cheap fabric and boots from, how do you say, the discount store. Exactly. Butcher stood, grabbing his coat, which means he's either the dumbest bastard alive, or he don't need any of that shite because he's actually that strong. Where are you going? MM demanded. To introduce myself before Vought disappears him into some black site. Butcher checked his weapon, a smile playing at his lips. Time to see if the enemy of my enemy really is my friend. Back at the crater, Homelander's desperation was beginning to show. He couldn't beat this stranger, couldn't hurt him, couldn't even move him. And every second the confrontation continued, more people saw his impotence. Stand down, Homelander commanded, trying to salvage authority from catastrophe. Surrender yourself to Vought custody for processing, and I'll show mercy. Saitama tilted his head, genuinely confused. Vought? Is that a government thing? Look, I just need to find someone who can explain where I am. Do you have, like, a hero organization? Someone in charge? I'm in charge! Homelander roared, his composure finally cracking. I'm the strongest. I'm the most powerful. Okay, Saitama said with a shrug. Then he simply walked past Homelander, heading toward the crowd of civilians cordoned behind police barricades. Homelander stared at the bald man's back, at the cheap white cape fluttering in the wind, at the casual dismissal of everything he represented. Something broke inside him then, some final restraint that separated godhood from monstrosity. His heat vision flared red again. This time, he aimed for the civilians. If you take one more step, Homelander said quietly, his voice transmitted by every camera drone, I'll kill them all. Every single person watching, starting with that little girl right there. He pointed at a 6-year-old child clutching her mother's hand. Saitama stopped walking, and for the first time since arriving in this strange world, his expression changed from boredom to something else entirely. Something cold. The temperature around Times Square dropped 10 degrees in an instant, though no meteorologist could explain why. Everyone watching, the civilians behind barricades, the police with rifles raised, the news crews in their helicopters, the millions glued to screens worldwide, felt it in their bones. Something had shifted. Saitama turned around slowly, his movement deliberate in a way it hadn't been before. His eyes, usually half-lidded with boredom, were fully open now, fixed on Homelander with an intensity that made America's greatest hero take an involuntary step backward through the air. What did you just say? Saitama's voice was quiet, conversational even, but it carried across the entire crater like a judge pronouncing sentence. Homelander's heat vision flickered, uncertainty creeping into his perfect facade. He'd made threats like this 1,000 times before, in private, where no cameras could see, where Ashley could clean up the mess. It always worked. People always folded when you threatened the weakest among them. But this bald man wasn't looking at him like a person who could be threatened. He was looking at him like something that needed to be removed. I said, Homelander began, trying to reclaim authority. I heard you. Saitama took one step forward. Just one. But the ground beneath his foot cracked like a gunshot, spiderweb fractures spreading across 50 feet of pavement. You just threatened to kill a child. I'm giving you a choice, Homelander said, his voice rising, trying to drown out the fear blooming in his chest. Stand down, or they die, all of them, and it'll be your fault for... He didn't see Saitama move. Nobody did. 1 microsecond, the bald man was standing 20 feet away. The next, he was 6 inches from Homelander's face, suspended in midair at eye level through sheer leg strength. The sonic boom of his movement arrived 2 seconds late. shattering the remaining structural glass in 3 city blocks. "No," Saitama said simply. Then he flicked Homelander's forehead. The impact sounded like a thunderclap. Homelander's body became a missile, launched backward at speeds approaching Mach 3, his trajectory carrying him through a Citibank billboard, through the facade of a Marriott hotel, through 17 internal walls, before finally cratering into a reinforced parking structure 3 blocks away. The entire sequence took 1.3 seconds. Saitama dropped back to the ground, landing with barely a sound. He dusted off his gloves like he'd just finished taking out the trash, then turned to the crowd of civilians who were staring at him with expressions ranging from terror to disbelief to something that might have been hope. "Is everyone okay?" he asked. The little girl Homelander had threatened burst into tears. Her mother clutched her tighter, nodding frantically, unable to form words. In Vought Tower, Ashley Barrett stood frozen, her phone hanging limp in her hand, watching 17 monitors show 17 different angles of Homelander. Homelander, their invincible god, their billion-dollar asset, getting bitch-slapped through a building by a man who looked like a background character from a children's cartoon. "Shut it down," she whispered. "Shut everything down. Kill all the feeds. Now, now." But she was already too late. Independent streamers, foreign news agencies, citizen journalists with smartphones. The footage was everywhere, spreading like wildfire across the internet. Within 30 seconds, the clip had been downloaded and shared 2 million times. By minute 2, it was unstoppable. Homelander destroyed by unknown soup. Who is the bald hero? Finally, someone put that fascist on his ass. The narrative Vought had spent billions constructing. The mythology of Homelander's absolute supremacy crumbled in real time. 3 blocks away, Homelander extracted himself from the parking structure, his perfect costume torn, his perfect hair matted with dust and blood from a cut on his forehead. Blood. His blood. He touched the wound with trembling fingers, staring at the crimson stain like it was evidence of impossible blasphemy. He'd been hurt. No, not just hurt. Dismissed. Flicked away like an insect. By a bald nobody in a costume that cost less than Homelander's breakfast. The rage that filled him then was beyond reason, beyond calculation, beyond the carefully maintained mask of heroism that Vought's psychologists had spent millions reinforcing. He screamed, an inhuman sound of pure fury, and launched himself back toward Times Square. Meanwhile, the 7 were mobilizing. A-Train arrived first, living up to his name, his compound V-enhanced metabolism pushing him to speeds exceeding 700 miles per hour. He'd seen the footage. Everyone had seen it. And yeah, maybe this bald guy was strong, but A-Train was fast. Untouchable. The fastest man alive. He circled the crater 3 times in 2 seconds, building momentum, then aimed directly for Saitama's back. A punch delivered at supersonic velocity, with all his mass and acceleration behind it. Physics alone made it devastating. A human body simply couldn't withstand that much kinetic energy concentrated in a single point. A-Train's fist connected with Saitama's spine. The sound was all wrong. Not the wet crunch of shattering vertebrae, but the hard metallic clang of a car hitting a concrete barrier at highway speeds. A-Train's ulna and radius snapped instantly. Both bones, clean breaks, compound fractures that tore through his costume and skin. His momentum carried him past Saitama in a tumbling, screaming trajectory that ended when he crashed into a hot dog cart 70 feet away. He lay there, both forearms bent at angles that made onlookers vomit, shrieking in agony. Saitama turned around, looking down at the speedster with concern. "Oh no, are you okay? You should probably go to a hospital." "My arms!" A-Train screamed. "You broke my arms!" "I didn't do anything," Saitama said, genuinely confused. "You ran into me." The Deep arrived next, despite being nowhere near water, because Vought's emergency protocols demanded full 7 deployment. He took one look at A-Train's mangled arms, another at Saitama's unchanged expression, and very quietly began backing away. "Nope," he muttered. "Nope, nope, nope. I'm good. Ocean's calling. Gotta go." Black Noir dropped from a rooftop, silent as death, twin tactical knives already in hand. He was Vought's most effective killer, trained by the best, enhanced by military-grade Compound V, completely devoid of mercy or hesitation. He went for the throat, textbook assassination technique, blades angled to sever the carotid and jugular simultaneously. Both knives shattered against Saitama's neck, just shattered, like glass striking diamond, fragments scattering across the pavement. Black Noir stared at his empty handles, his masked face somehow conveying absolute bewilderment. He'd killed 217 people with those knives. They could cut through Kevlar, bone, reinforced steel. Saitama caught his wrist gently, so gently like handling a child, and moved him aside. "Please don't," he said, not unkindly. "I don't want to hurt anyone." Then Homelander returned. He came from above, diving like a raptor, his hands outstretched, his face a mask of inhuman rage. No more words, no more posturing, just pure, unfiltered violence. He grabbed Saitama by the shoulders and launched upward, accelerating to supersonic velocity, carrying them both up past the skyscrapers, past the low clouds, up toward the stratosphere where there were no cameras, no witnesses, no civilian casualties to worry about. Where he could finally kill this bald fraud without restraint. They broke through the cloud layer at 12,000 feet. Homelander's grip tightened, his fingers crushing down with enough pressure to deform titanium. Saitama looked around at the open sky, the distant curve of the earth, the thin air at altitude. "Oh," he said, his voice carrying clearly despite the wind. "I guess we're fighting seriously now." He met Homelander's eyes. "Okay." At 15,000 feet, Homelander threw the first punch with everything he had. 37 years of Compound 5 enhancement, a lifetime of unchallenged dominance, and the desperate fury of a god discovering his own mortality. The punch would have atomized a normal human. It would have obliterated concrete, steel, or stone. Saitama's head moved approximately 2 inches to the right. Homelander threw another punch, then another, then a flurry of blows, each one capable of leveling a building, each one delivered with speeds that broke the sound barrier. His fists became a blur of superhuman violence, a hurricane of destructive force that would have reduced a mountain to dust. Saitama's head bobbed slightly with each impact, like a balloon in a gentle breeze. "Are you done yet?" Saitama asked after the 100th punch. "Because I'm getting cold up here." Homelander's heat vision flared at point-blank range, twin beams of concentrated solar radiation boring into Saitama's chest. The air around them superheated instantly. Homelander held the beam for 10 seconds, 15, 20, pouring every reserve of power into incinerating this impossible obstacle. When he finally stopped, gasping, his eyes burning from the exertion, Saitama's jumpsuit didn't even have a scorch mark. "Okay, seriously," Saitama said. "What's your problem?" That's when Homelander broke. Not physically. His body was still intact, still enhanced, still theoretically indestructible by human standards. But something inside him, some fundamental pillar of his identity, simply collapsed under the weight of impossible reality. He was Homelander. He'd been engineered to be perfect, raised to be a god, worshipped by millions. He'd killed Supreme Court justices, downed passenger planes, murdered anyone who threatened his supremacy. He was the strongest being on the planet, except he wasn't. And this bald man in a cheap costume was proving it with casual indifference. Homelander's perfectly symmetrical face contorted into something inhuman. Rage and fear mixed into an expression no Vought photographer would ever be allowed to capture. He grabbed Saitama and dove, accelerating downward like a missile, planning to use the Earth itself as a weapon. They hit the East River at terminal velocity. The impact created a waterspout 200 feet high. The shockwave capsized 3 tour boats. Windows shattered along the Brooklyn waterfront. Seismographs registered a 3.8 tremor. Underwater, in the murky darkness beneath the surface, Homelander wrapped his hands around Saitama's throat and squeezed with enough pressure to crush diamonds. His heat vision burned through the water in continuous streams, turning the surrounding river into a boiling cauldron. Saitama, who'd survived in the vacuum of space and had once held his breath for approximately 2 minutes while underwater, though he'd been bored the entire time, waited patiently for this to be over. After 90 seconds, Homelander's grip loosened. Not because he was weakening, but because he was beginning to understand the futility. You couldn't drown something that didn't need to breathe. You couldn't crush something that was fundamentally unbreakable. They surfaced together. Homelander floated there in the middle of the river, his costume torn, his hair plastered to his skull, his chest heaving with exertion and something that might have been panic. "What are you?" he whispered. Before Saitama could answer, a stolen garbage truck crashed through the riverside barrier and plunged into the water 10 feet from them. Billy Butcher emerged from the sinking vehicle's driver's seat, a rebreather already in his mouth, a waterproof bag strapped to his chest. He'd timed it perfectly. Homelander distracted, the bald man stationary. No witnesses in immediate range. He surfaced next to Saitama, yanked out his rebreather, and spoke with the calm efficiency of someone used to executing insane plans. "Oi, bald cunt. You want answers about where you are and how to get home?" Saitama blinked water from his eyes. "Yes? Then come with me right now, before the corporate wankers in the tower figure out how to disappear you into some black site." "Who are you?" "Name's Billy Butcher. I kill superheroes for a living." He jerked his thumb at Homelander, who was staring at them with mounting fury. "And that cunt right there, he's the worst of them. Mass murderer, rapist, sociopath with a god complex. And you just made him bleed, which makes you either the answer to my prayers or the biggest threat this world's ever seen." Homelander's heat vision began to glow red. "Step away from him, Billy. This doesn't concern you. Everything concerns me, you flag-shagging psychopath." Butcher turned back to Saitama. "Look, I know you just got here. I know you're confused. But you need to understand something about this world. Everyone in a cape is owned by a corporation called Vought. They make fake heroes, stage fake rescues, and murder anyone who threatens their profits. That includes you." "I'm not fake," Homelander snarled. "I'm the real hero. I'm the only one who—" "You threatened to kill a child on live television 20 minutes ago," Butcher interrupted. "I watched it happen. The whole world watched it happen." Saitama looked at Homelander with new understanding. "Is that true?" "They're insects," Homelander said, his voice flat. All pretense of heroism abandoned in his exhaustion. "All of them. Crawling, breeding, worthless insects. I'm the only thing keeping this world from—" "You're not a hero," Saitama said quietly. It wasn't an accusation, just a statement of fact, delivered with the weight of absolute certainty. Homelander's face twisted. "I'm more than a hero. I'm a god. And you're just some bald—" Saitama punched him. Not hard. Not by Saitama's standards. Just a simple, straightforward jab, the kind he'd use to swat away a mosquito. The shockwave created a circular blast radius in the East River, displacing approximately 40,000 gallons of water instantaneously. Homelander's body rocketed across the water's surface like a skipping stone, bounced twice, then crashed into the Brooklyn waterfront, hard enough to demolish a warehouse. Saitama turned back to Butcher, who was treading water with an expression that oscillated between terror and vindication. "Okay," Saitama said. "I'll come with you, but only because I need information, and I'm not killing anyone." "Wouldn't dream of asking," Butcher lied smoothly. "Now swim before Captain America's evil twin wakes up and tries round 3. They made it to shore just as Vought's tactical response helicopters appeared on the horizon. Butcher's van screeched up to the waterfront, side door already open. Huey was driving, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "Is that him?" Huey asked, staring at Saitama. "Is that the guy who just—" "Oh my God. The footage is everywhere. The entire internet is losing its mind." "Drive," Butcher commanded, shoving Saitama into the back. "Drive like Satan himself is on our arse." "That's not far from the truth," said from the back, loading rounds into a rifle. "Because when Homelander wakes up, he's gonna be looking for blood." The van peeled away from the waterfront just as searchlights swept across the area. Inside, crammed between weapons crates and surveillance equipment, Saitama sat with his knees pulled up, dripping river water onto the floor. "So," he said conversationally, "does anyone know where the nearest supermarket is?" "I missed the sale day back home." 4 sets of eyes stared at him in disbelief. "Supermarket," Butcher repeated slowly. "You just punched the most dangerous man in America into a building, and you're worried about grocery shopping?" "Well, yeah," Saitama said. "I'm hungry. Fighting always makes me hungry." The boys' Safehouse was a condemned electronics repair shop in Red Hook, Brooklyn. 3 floors of paranoia made manifest. Lead-lined walls to block surveillance, Faraday cages around the computer equipment, exits on all sides, and enough weapons to arm a small militia. The kind of place you built when you knew gods were hunting you. Saitama sat on a folding chair that groaned under even his modest weight, eating a convenience store sandwich that Frenchie had grabbed during the drive. The boys surrounded him in a loose semicircle, each maintaining a careful distance, weapons within reach but not yet drawn. "Right then," Butcher said, leaning against a table loaded with monitoring equipment. "Let's start simple. Who are you and where did you come from?" "My name's Saitama. I'm a professional hero from City Z, Japan, Class B, rank 7. He took another bite of sandwich. "Though I should really be Class A after saving the world from that meteor. The Hero Association has a weird ranking system." "Hero Association?" Huey asked, pulling up a chair. "Like an actual organization for heroes? Not a corporation?" "Yeah. They handle hero registration, dispatch emergency calls, track monsters and disaster levels. Pretty standard stuff." Saitama finished the sandwich and looked around expectantly. "Do you have any more food?" Tossed him a protein bar, still watching him like a bomb that might detonate. "And in your world, heroes just help people? No merchandising deals? No corporate sponsors?" "Well, there's merchandising," Saitama admitted, unwrapping the bar. "But the point is saving people. Why else would you be a hero?" The question hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. "Money," Butcher said flatly. "Fame, power, the ability to do whatever you want without consequences. That's why people become heroes in this world, mate." "That's stupid," Saitama said through a mouthful of protein bar. "That's not being a hero. That's just being a celebrity." "Welcome to America," muttered. Frenchie leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. "This world you describe, it has monsters, yes? Real threats that require real heroes. All the time. Dragon-level threats. Demon-level disasters. Giant monsters that could wipe out cities." Saitama shrugged. "That's why the Hero Association exists. To coordinate responses and protect civilians. And you?" Kimiko signed, Frenchie translating. "How strong are you, really?" Saitama considered the question. "I don't really know. I've never found an upper limit. I just punch things until they stop being a problem." "You flicked Homelander through 3 buildings," Huey said, his laptop open, scrolling through social media feeds. "The internet is calling it the finger heard round the world. There are already memes, so many memes." "I didn't mean to hurt him that badly," Saitama said apologetically. "He was threatening that kid. I just wanted him to stop." "Yeah, well, he didn't stop." Butcher pulled up security footage on one of the monitors. Homelander extracting himself from the Brooklyn warehouse, his face a mask of dried blood and barely contained psychosis. "He's going to come for you with everything Vought's got. And when I say everything, I mean Black Ops teams, experimental soups, Probably the entire Yanji military, if they can swing it. Why? I just want to go home. Because you embarrassed him, explained. On camera, in front of the whole world. You made him bleed, made him look weak. Homelander's entire identity is built on being the strongest. You just proved he's not. Saitama frowned. That's a really fragile ego. Fragile egos with superpowers kill a lot of people, Butcher said. Which brings us to the important question, can we kill him? The room went silent. Billy? Huey started. No, that. We finally have someone who can go toe-to-toe with that cunt. Someone he can't laser in half or throw into the sun. We'd be idiots not to at least ask. Saitama set down the protein bar. I'm not killing anyone. Even a mass murderer? Even someone who's raped and killed and gotten away with it because he's got a flag on his chest and a PR team covering his tracks. I said I'm not killing anyone. Saitama's voice didn't rise, but something in his tone made everyone in the room take a half step back. I'm a hero. Heroes don't kill people just because someone asks them to. Heroes in your world, maybe. Butcher shot back. But this ain't your world, is it? This is a world where the heroes are the villains, where corporations manufacture fake saviors, where... Then I'll stop them without killing them. Saitama stood up, his head nearly touching the low ceiling. Look, I appreciate the help getting away from that guy, but I'm not going to be your weapon. I just need to figure out how I got here so I can find a way back. And if you can't, asked quietly. If you're stuck here, Saitama was quiet for a moment, considering. Then I guess I'll do what I always do. Be a hero, the real kind. Before anyone could respond, every alarm in the Safehouse began screaming simultaneously. Huey's laptop erupted with alerts. Shit! Vought Security just triangulated our location. Multiple contacts inbound, 3 helicopters, 2 ground vehicles, and... His face went pale. Oh no! What? Butcher demanded. They activated Operation Clean Sweep. That's their protocol for eliminating superhuman threats they can't control. Huey looked up, his eyes wide behind his glasses. They're sending every available soup in a 50-mile radius, every single one. The building shook. Not from an explosion, but from something landing on the roof with enough force to crack the concrete foundation. Then voices, amplified and authoritative, echoed from outside. Attention occupants, this is Vought Security. You are harboring a superhuman terrorist. Surrender the target immediately or we will use lethal force. Frenchie moved to the window, peeked through the reinforced blinds, and swore in rapid French. Merde, there are perhaps 20, maybe 30 soups out there. Some I recognize from C-list teams, others... He trailed off. Others what? asked. Others look like they came from a laboratory. Military enhancements, experimental compound V subjects. Frenchie's usual levity was gone. They are not here to talk. Butcher checked his weapon, a modified rifle loaded with Temp V-laced ammunition, and looked at Saitama. So much for keeping your head down. I didn't do anything, Saitama protested. You existed, mate. In this world, that's enough. Butcher moved toward the armory. Right then. Huey, kill the lights and prep the escape tunnel. You're on Overwatch. Frenchie, Kimiko, you know the drill. What about me? Saitama asked. Butcher grinned, and it was not a pleasant expression. You? You're about to give those Vought cunts the worst day of their miserable lives. The roof exploded inward. 3 soups dropped through the hole, one crackling with electricity, another with skin like stone, the third moving with predatory speed. They were followed by a hail of flashbangs and smoke grenades. Through the chaos and screaming alarms, Saitama sighed deeply. I really just wanted some groceries, he said. Then the closest soup, the one with electrical powers, launched a lightning bolt that could have powered a city block. It hit Saitama square in the chest. The electricity dissipated harmlessly, earthing out against his body like water hitting bedrock. Saitama looked down at his jumpsuit, checking for damage. Okay, he said calmly. Now I'm annoyed. He moved. The electrical soup didn't even have time to scream before a casual backhand sent him through 3 walls and into the East River 2 blocks away. The stone-skinned soup charged forward with a roar, his fists raised. Saitama poked him in the forehead. The soup went down like a puppet with cut strings, unconscious before he hit the ground. The speedster tried to run. Saitama caught him by the collar mid-stride, lifting him effortlessly. "Please stop attacking me," he said reasonably. "I don't want to hurt anyone." Outside, 27 more soups prepared to breach the building. And in Vought Tower, Ashley Barrett watched the thermal imaging feeds and realized with growing horror that they'd just sent their assets to fight something that registered on sensors as a walking natural disaster. "Get me Homelander," she screamed into 3 phones simultaneously. "Get me everyone! Get me the ING army!" The assault came in waves. Because Vought's tactical command believed in overwhelming force and had 17 years of soup deployment data suggesting it always worked. Wave 1 had already failed, 3 enhanced individuals unconscious or fleeing. Wave 2 breached simultaneously from 4 entry points: walls, windows, the reinforced door, and a soup who could phase through solid matter emerging directly from the floor. The phaser went first, materializing behind Saitama with a tungsten blade aimed at his kidney. The blade shattered on impact. Before the soupy could retreat into intangibility, Saitama turned and gently tapped his shoulder. The phaser collapsed, his compound V-enhanced nervous system overloaded by the transfer of kinetic energy his brain interpreted as a freight train collision. A pyrokinetic came through the eastern wall in a column of flame, her body temperature exceeding 2,000 degrees. She launched a concentrated fireball that would have melted through tank armor. Saitama waved it away like cigarette smoke. The gesture created a gust of wind that extinguished her flames and blew her back through the hole she'd made, unconscious before she hit the pavement outside. "Stop breaking my safe house," Butcher shouted, already moving toward the escape tunnel with Huey. "We have a deposit on this place!" MM fired 3 rounds at a soup who could multiply himself, each bullet laced with Temp V suppressants. 2 copies went down. The original lunged for Saitama with 4 identical clones flanking him. Saitama clapped once. The shock wave dispersed all 5 copies like dandelion seeds in a hurricane. They tumbled through the air, unconscious before they separated. Their compound V-sustained duplicates winking out of existence. "Frenchie," MM called out. "We gotta move. This whole block's about to become a war zone." Oui. Frenchie grabbed a duffel bag of essential equipment, Kimiko already at his side. She pointed at Saitama, then at the door, her expression urgent. Saitama understood. He walked toward the main entrance. Not running, not fighting, just walking with the purposeful stride of someone heading to the corner store. A soup with enhanced strength and rhino-like armor charged through the doorway at that exact moment. They collided. The rhino soup's enhanced bone structure, capable of withstanding anti-tank rounds, met Saitama's chest and crumpled like aluminum foil. He bounced backward, his horn broken, his armor fractured, his consciousness departed. "Excuse me," Saitama said to the unconscious body, stepping over it. Outside, Vought's tactical coordinator, a former Navy SEAL named Morrison who'd seen combat in 3 countries, stared at the thermal feeds with growing dread. 23 soups deployed, 11 already down. 0 confirmed damage to target. "Activate the Sage Grove units," he ordered into his headset. "Sir, those subjects aren't cleared for urban deployment. They're unstable. Their compound V integration is incomplete. I don't care if they're radioactive. Deploy them now!" 3 unmarked trucks screeched to a halt at the perimeter. The rear doors opened with hydraulic hisses. What emerged barely qualified as human anymore. Vought's Sage Grove facility had been experimenting with high-dosage compound Vi injections on subjects with specific genetic markers. The survival rate was 11%. The psychological stability of survivors was near 0, but their power output. The first subject, designation SG-17, stood 8 feet tall, his skin mottled with tumorous growths that pulsed with bioluminescent energy. When he screamed, the sound shattered windows 3 blocks away. The second, SG-23, moved like liquid mercury, her body unstable, phasing between solid and gaseous states. Her touch could dissolve organic matter at the molecular level. The third, SG-31, didn't look human at all anymore. Just a mass of writhing tendrils wrapped around a vaguely humanoid core, each tendril tipped with bone spurs capable of piercing concrete. Morrison watched them advance toward the Safehouse and felt no satisfaction. These weren't heroes. They weren't even weapons. They were disasters with a kill switch. "If this goes sideways," he told his second-in-command, "we're all getting reassigned to Alaska." Saitama emerged from the Safehouse to find the street cordoned off, news helicopters circling despite FAA restrictions, and approximately 30 individuals in various costumes standing between him and freedom. Behind him, the boys filtered out through a side exit, heading for their backup extraction point. Butcher paused at the corner, watching. "He's gonna get himself killed," MM muttered. "Maybe," Butcher said. "Or maybe we're about to see something beautiful." SG-17 charged first, his massive bulk covering the distance in 3 ground-shaking strides. His fist, capable of generating 40 tons of impact force, swung down like a wrecking ball. Saitama caught it, just caught it. One hand, no visible effort. SG-17 pulled back, confused, then swung with his other fist. Saitama caught that one too. "Look," Saitama said, holding both of the creature's fists like a parent restraining an overeager child. "I really don't want to fight. Can't we just talk about this?" SG-17 responded by opening his mouth and vomiting a stream of corrosive bile designed to dissolve targets at the cellular level. Saitama sighed as the acid washed over him, leaving his jumpsuit and face completely untouched. That was really gross. He pushed gently. SG-17 flew backward approximately 200 feet, crashed through a Whole Foods storefront, and didn't get back up. SG-23 liquefied and flowed toward Saitama like a predatory oil slick, her consciousness distributed across millions of semi-autonomous particles. She enveloped him completely, her molecular dissolution touch activating across his entire body simultaneously. Nothing happened. Saitama stood there, covered in what looked like living quicksilver, waiting patiently. After 15 seconds, SG-23 reconstituted into human form, staring at her hands in confusion. Her power, the ability to break down organic compounds, had encountered something her compound V-altered physiology couldn't process, something that simply refused to be broken down. "Are you done?" Saitama asked. SG-23 tried again, more desperately, pouring all her power into dissolving this impossible obstacle. Her body began destabilizing, the compound vibe in her system burning out from overexertion. Saitama caught her as she collapsed, her form solidifying back into something resembling a young woman, unconscious and barely breathing. He laid her down gently on the pavement. "Someone should get her to a hospital," he called out. "She doesn't look good." SG-31, the tendril mass, attacked while Saitama was distracted. Dozens of bone-tipped appendages, striking from multiple angles simultaneously. Each tendril could punch through reinforced steel. Together, they represented enough penetrating force to destroy a main battle tank. They all broke against Saitama's skin. Just broke. Snapped. Shattered like glass rods hitting a diamond wall. SG-31 shrieked, a sound of confusion and pain and fear that made watching police officers cover their ears. Its remaining tendrils flailed wildly, destroying parked cars, tearing up chunks of asphalt, smashing streetlights. Saitama grabbed the central mass. "Stop," he said firmly, and somehow, impossibly, SG-31 stopped. Not because it was defeated, but because something in Saitama's voice, some fundamental authority that transcended physical power, demanded obedience. The creature's tendrils went limp. It made a sound that might have been a whimper. Saitama set it down carefully and turned to face the remaining soups, who were now standing in a loose semicircle, none of them making any move to attack. "Does anyone else want to fight?" he asked. "Because I'd really rather not. I'm having a bad day, I'm in a world I don't understand, and I just want to find a quiet place to figure out how to get home." Nobody moved. Then one soup, a younger man with telekinetic abilities who'd been recruited from a community college 3 months ago, raised his hand like a student asking for permission to speak. He said. "What? What are you?" Before Saitama could answer, a sonic boom split the sky. Homelander descended from the clouds like a vengeful angel. His costume changed, his wounds healed, his eyes glowing with barely contained heat vision. Behind him came 5 more figures, members of international Supe teams that Vought had called in as backup. Ashley Barrett's voice crackled over the tactical frequency. "All units stand down. Homelander is taking personal command of the situation." Homelander landed 30 feet from Saitama, his boots cracking the pavement. His smile was a rictus of controlled fury. "Round 2, you bald," he said quietly. "And this time, I'm not holding back." The sky darkened as news helicopters retreated to a safe distance. Someone in Vought's PR department had made a calculation. Better to broadcast Homelander's victory than try to suppress footage that would leak anyway. Every screen in America cut to the same feed, their god preparing to fight the stranger who'd humiliated him. Homelander's reinforcements spread out in formation. To his right, Red River from the Canadian team, whose hydrokinetic powers let her weaponize any liquid within a 100-meter radius. To his left, Stormfront, recently rehabilitated, after her Nazi past was buried under enough legal settlements to bankrupt a small country. Behind him, 3 lesser-known international soups, a Brazilian speedster, a Chinese teleporter, and a German soup whose bones had been replaced with diamond composite material. "You made a mistake coming to this world," Homelander said, his voice carrying across the silent street. "You made a bigger mistake embarrassing me. And you made the biggest mistake of your pathetic life when you walked out of that building instead of running." Saitama looked at the assembled heroes, then at Homelander, then at the destroyed street around them. "I didn't run because I haven't done anything wrong. You're the ones who attacked me." "You're an unregistered superhuman entity," Stormfront called out, her German accent thick. "That makes you a threat to national security, to global security." "I'm just lost," Saitama said simply. "I want to go home." "Then allow me to send you there," Homelander snarled. "The hard way." He didn't signal the attack, didn't coordinate. He just moved, because gods don't need plans, they only need overwhelming force. But this time, he wasn't alone. Red River struck first, pulling moisture from the air in the surrounding buildings, condensing it into pressurized lances of water moving at supersonic velocity. Each lance hit with the force of an anti-material round. She launched 17 in 3 seconds. They splashed harmlessly against Saitama's chest. The Brazilian speedster circled at Mach 2, creating a vortex meant to disorient and suffocate. The wind pressure alone could strip flesh from bone. Saitama's hair didn't even move. The Chinese teleporter blinked behind him, pressed a hand against his back, and tried to teleport him 3,000 feet straight up. A tactic that worked by disorienting targets, making them vulnerable during the microsecond of dimensional transition. Nothing happened. The teleporter blinked away in confusion, tried again from a different angle. Failed again. His power simply couldn't grip Saitama's mass, as if trying to teleport a black hole. Homelander came in low and fast, tackling Saitama at full speed while the German soup struck from above, his diamond composite fists falling like pile drivers. The street beneath Saitama cracked. A crater formed. Dust exploded outward. When it cleared, Saitama stood in the exact same spot, one hand catching Homelander's fist, the other stopping the German's punch mid-strike. "Please stop," Saitama said, his voice tired. "This isn't accomplishing anything." Homelander's heat vision activated at point-blank range, two beams of concentrated energy pumping directly into Saitama's face. Stormfront added her lightning. Not the theatrical bolts she used for cameras, but true electrical discharge, channeling enough voltage to power a city. Together, they generated heat exceeding the surface temperature of the sun. Saitama squinted slightly. "That tickles." The German Soupy pulled back his fist and struck again with everything he had, his diamond bones channeling compound V-enhanced strength into a single point of impact. His entire arm shattered, every bone from shoulder to knuckles pulverized by his own force reflecting back through his crystalline structure. He screamed and fell away, clutching the ruined limb. "I warned you," Saitama said sadly. Red River escalated, pulling water from underground pipes, creating a sphere of pressurized liquid around Saitama's head. Drowning tactics. If he needed to breathe, he'd suffocate. If he didn't, she'd at least blind him for... Saitama breathed out, slightly annoyed. The exhalation created a gust of wind that dispersed the water sphere, knocked Red River off her feet, and shattered the windows of buildings 2 blocks away. The Brazilian speedster, seeing his teammates falling, decided discretion was the better part of valor and ran. He'd made it 3 blocks when Saitama appeared in front of him, not chasing, not pursuing, just suddenly there, as if he'd teleported, though he'd simply moved faster than the speedster could process. "You should go help your friends," Saitama said. "Some of them are hurt pretty badly." The speedster nodded frantically and ran in the opposite direction, his compound V-enhanced pride shattered by simple fear, which left Homelander and Stormfront. "Is this it?" Saitama asked, looking at Homelander. "Is this your full power?" Something in Homelander's perfect face cracked. Because the answer was yes. This was everything. His strength, his speed, his heat vision, backed up by some of the most powerful soups Vought could assemble. And it had accomplished nothing. Worse than nothing, it had proven again that he was inferior. "What do you want?" Homelander whispered, his voice breaking slightly. "Money? Power? We can make you famous. We can give you everything. Just..." "I want to go home," Saitama interrupted. "That's all I've ever wanted." "Then go!" Homelander screamed, his composure finally shattering completely. "Leave! Get out of my world! You don't belong here!" "I'm trying," Saitama said, frustration creeping into his voice. "But I don't know how. I don't even know how I got here. I was fighting something in my world, threw a punch, and then suddenly I was falling through the sky above this city." Stormfront, her tactical mind still functioning despite the chaos, latched onto that detail. "A punch? You punched something hard enough to tear through dimensional barriers?" "Maybe." Saitama scratched his head. "I mean, it was a pretty serious fight. God-level threat. I might have used a serious punch. Those tend to cause a lot of collateral damage." "How much damage?" she asked. "Well, I once split a planet-destroying energy beam and cleared away all clouds on one side of the planet. And there was that time I destroyed a meteor before it hit the city and..." "You destroyed a meteor," Homelander repeated flatly. "How big?" "About 6 miles in diameter, I think. The Hero Association said it was dragon level or above. I just punched it and it broke apart." The street was silent except for the groans of injured soups and the distant sound of sirens. 6 miles, Stormbird whispered. "Mein Gott!" A tactical van screeched up to the perimeter. Ashley Barrett emerged, tablet in hand, flanked by 4 scientists from Vought's research division. She looked at the devastation, 28 soups down. Homelander standing there looking lost, the bald stranger completely unharmed, and made an executive decision. "Stop fighting him," she announced. "We're changing approach." Homelander whirled on her. "What? You can't beat him. He clearly doesn't want to hurt anyone despite having every reason to, and every second this continues, our stock drops another 3 points." She walked forward, her heels clicking on broken pavement, and stopped 10 feet from Saitama. "Mr. Saitama, is it? Yes? My name is Ashley Barrett. I'm the CEO of Vought International, and I'd like to offer you a deal. Behind her, Billy Butcher watched from a rooftop 3 blocks away, his rifle scope trained on Ashley's head. "Here we go," he muttered. "The devil makes her offer." Ashley Barrett's smile was the kind perfected in 1,000 boardrooms where careers were made and destroyed with equal efficiency. She held her tablet like a shield, her knuckles white from gripping it too hard, but her voice remained steady. "Vought International has access to some of the world's most advanced technology," she began, her pitch practiced despite the surreal circumstances. "Quantum computers, dimensional research, experimental physics departments with billion-dollar budgets. If anyone can help you get home, it's us." Saitama's expression brightened slightly. "Really?" "Really," Ashley confirmed, sensing advantage. "But these resources are expensive, experimental, dangerous even. We'd need cooperation, full cooperation." "What kind of cooperation?" Saitama asked, his tone wary. "Nothing sinister," Ashley lied smoothly. "Medical scans to understand your physiology, interviews about your home dimension, perhaps some demonstrations of your abilities so our scientists can develop theoretical models of your power source. Standard interdimensional research protocols." From the rooftop, Huey's voice crackled through Butcher's earpiece. "She's lying. I'm looking at Vought's Dimensional Research Division right now. It's 3 graduate students in a basement studying theoretical wormholes. They couldn't send him home if they had a decade." "Course she's lying," Butcher whispered back. "But the question is whether our bald friend's daft enough to believe it." Saitama looked at Ashley, then at the injured soup scattered across the street, then at Homelander, whose face was a mask of barely controlled rage. "If I do this," Saitama said slowly, "nobody else gets hurt. You'll stop sending people to fight me?" "Absolutely," Ashley said. "You have my word. Vought International just wants to help you return home safely. Everyone wins. Everyone except the truth." Starlight's voice cut through the tension. She emerged from behind one of the tactical vans, her costume torn, her face bruised from a Vought discipline session she'd endured earlier for questioning orders. "Don't listen to her." Ashley's smile froze. "Starlight, stand down. This doesn't concern you." "Like hell it doesn't." Starlight walked forward, positioning herself between Saitama and Ashley. "She's lying. Vought doesn't have dimensional technology. They're going to lock you in a lab, study you, weaponize whatever they learn, and then probably dissect you when they're done." That's completely false," Ashley sputtered, but her tablet hand trembled. "Is it?" Starlight turned to Saitama. "Has anyone here treated you with honesty since you arrived? Have they tried to help you, or have they attacked you, lied about you, and tried to paint you as a terrorist?" Saitama considered this. The guy with the British accent was pretty honest. Rude, but honest. "Billy Butcher," Starlight confirmed. "He's a killer, but at least he doesn't pretend to be anything else." She gestured at Ashley, at Homelander, at the Vought vehicles surrounding them. "These people, they'll smile while they destroy you. They've done it to everyone who trusted them." Homelander's heat vision began to glow. "Starlight, shut your mouth Before you what?" She turned on him, and something in her voice had changed. Months of abuse, of watching innocent people die, of being complicit in atrocities, finally reaching critical mass. "Kill me on camera, in front of millions of viewers? Go ahead, show them what you really are." "I'll show them what you really are," Homelander snarled. "A traitor, a Judas in a cape who told the truth?" Starlight's laugh was bitter. "Yeah, that's treason in Vought's world. Honesty, integrity, giving a shit about people." Saitama watched this exchange with growing understanding. The dynamics were becoming clearer. The corporate woman who lied, the powerful man who threatened, the one person willing to speak truth despite the cost. It reminded him of the Hero Association's corruption, but worse. So much worse. "I'm not going with you," he told Ashley. Her composure cracked further. "Mr. Saitama, please be reasonable. We're offering..." You're offering to study me like a lab rat while pretending it's for my benefit. Saitama's voice was flat, definitive. I've dealt with enough organizations that care more about data than people. The answer is no. Ashley's mask fell away entirely, revealing the desperate executive beneath. You don't understand what you're refusing. We own this country. We own the narrative. We can make you into a villain so fast. You already did that, Saitama pointed out. Called me the bald fraud. Remember, sent everyone you had to attack me. I'm pretty sure you can't make it much worse. Oh, we can make it so much worse, Homelander said quietly. And there was something terrifying in his tone. The sound of a sociopath who'd finally stopped pretending. We can find everyone you've ever known, everyone you've ever cared about, and we can make them suffer in ways you can't imagine. The temperature dropped again, that same atmospheric shift that had preceded Saitama's anger in Times Square. I'm from a different dimension, Saitama said, his voice perfectly calm, perfectly controlled. Everyone I know is in a universe you can't reach, but the people here, he looked at Starlight, then at the civilians watching from behind police barriers, then back at Homelander. The people you just threatened? They're right here, where I can protect them. Protect them? Homelander laughed, but it sounded slightly unhinged. From me? I'm Homelander. You're a bully with powers you didn't earn, pretending to be a hero in a world that forgot what heroes actually are. Saitama's assessment was delivered without malice, just simple observation. I've met villains more honest than you. Something snapped in Homelander's eyes. Not metaphorically. Everyone watching could see the moment his last restraint broke. The moment he stopped caring about cameras or consequences, or the carefully maintained illusion of heroism. Fine, he whispered. No more pretending. He turned to face the crowd of civilians. Hundreds of people pressed against police barriers, their phones recording, their faces a mixture of fear and fascination. You want to see what I really am? Homelander's voice carried across the entire street. I'm a god playing in a sandbox full of ants. And I'm tired of pretending your lives matter. His heat vision activated, twin beams tracking toward the crowd. Saitama moved faster than human perception could follow. One moment he was standing beside Starlight. The next, he was in front of the crowd, his hand raised, catching the heat vision on his palm. The energy should have burned through him, should have continued through to vaporize dozens of innocent people. Instead, it simply stopped, absorbed into Saitama's invulnerable body like water hitting bedrock. No, Saitama said simply. Homelander poured more power into the beams. Maximum output. Every cell of stored solar radiation, every molecule of compound Vi enhancement, everything that made him superhuman focused into those twin beams of destructive force. Saitama stood there and took it. For 5 seconds, 10, 15. The crowd behind him was completely unharmed. When Homelander finally stopped, gasping, his eyes burning from the exertion, Saitama lowered his hand. His palm wasn't even red. Is that everything? Saitama asked. Homelander's face contorted into something inhuman. What are you? I'm a hero, Saitama said. And I think it's time someone reminded you what that actually means. He walked forward, each step deliberate. Homelander tried to retreat, flying backward, but Saitama jumped, just a simple jump, and covered 300 feet in an instant, landing directly in front of the floating soup. Heroes don't threaten children, Saitama said, counting on his fingers. Heroes don't murder innocents. Heroes don't lie about who they are. And heroes definitely don't attack crowds of defenseless people just to prove a point. With each statement, Homelander's face grew paler. You're not a hero, Saitama continued. You're just someone with power who never learned responsibility. And that ends now. What are you going to do? Homelander demanded, his voice cracking. Kill me? Make yourself the villain? No, Saitama said. Something worse. He pulled back his fist. Not far, just a few inches. The wind-up of someone preparing to flick away an annoying insect. I'm going to show everyone you're not a god. Saitama punched, Not a serious punch, not even close. Just a regular, ordinary punch. The kind he'd used to swat away a low-level monster back home. The impact created a shock wave that shattered windows in a half-mile radius. Homelander's body became a projectile, launched at speeds exceeding Mach 5, his trajectory carrying him up, up, up. Through the cloud layer, through the troposphere, into the stratosphere. Every camera caught the moment. Every phone recorded it. The world watched their invincible hero turned into a shrinking speck against the blue sky, still rising, still accelerating, until he finally disappeared from view. 4 minutes later, satellites tracked him landing in the Atlantic Ocean, approximately 800 miles off the coast. Ashley Barrett stood frozen, her tablet forgotten, watching her company's crown jewel vanish into the atmosphere. "Stock's gonna tank," she whispered. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds before the world erupted. Every phone, every screen, every broadcast device on Earth replayed the same footage. Homelander, invincible, untouchable, godlike Homelander, punched into orbit like a rag doll. Within 60 seconds, Yardy's Not a God was trending globally. Within 5 minutes, Vought's stock had dropped 18% and was in free fall. In Vought Tower's emergency boardroom, 12 executives watched their empire crumble in real time. Emergency calls flooded in from Pentagon generals, State Department officials, international partners, all demanding the same thing. What the just happened? Stan Edgar, Vought's chairman, watched the footage loop on the main screen and made a decision 20 years in the making. He pressed the intercom button. "Activate Protocol Phantom." Protocol Phantom was the contingency Vought had spent $4 billion developing. The plan for what happened if Homelander ever became more liability than asset. It involved framing, discrediting, and if necessary, eliminating their flagship hero before he destroyed the company. They'd never imagined they'd activate it because someone else had already done the work for them. "Sir, the shareholders are demanding," an analyst began. "Tell the shareholders we're pivoting," Edgar said calmly. "Homelander was always a temporary solution. We've just found a permanent one." On the street, Ashley Barrett regained her composure with impressive speed. She turned to Saitama, her smile returning, though strained at the edges. "Mr. Saitama," she said, her voice projecting authority despite the chaos. "What you just did was remarkable, unprecedented. Vought International would like to offer you a position as—" "No," Saitama interrupted. "I haven't finished the— I don't care what you're offering. The answer is no." Saitama looked at the injured soups, the destroyed street, the terrified civilians. "I don't work for people who send others to fight their battles, and I especially don't work for people who create fake heroes." "Fake heroes?" Ashley's laugh was sharp. "Mr. Saitama, we create heroes. We give people hope, protection, entertainment. You sell products with capes," Starlight said, moving to stand beside Saitama. "There's a difference." Before Ashley could respond, a new sound filled the air. Not sirens, not helicopters, but something deeper. The heavy thrum of military aircraft. 6 F-35 fighter jets screamed overhead in formation, followed by 4 Apache helicopters. On the ground, convoys of military vehicles established a perimeter 3 blocks out. This wasn't Vought's response anymore. This was the United States government. A command Humvee rolled through the barricade. General Robert Carver emerged, his decorated uniform displaying 30 years of military service. He surveyed the devastation with a tactician's eye, then focused on Saitama. "You're the unknown superhuman entity that just assaulted America's primary defensive asset," Carver stated, his voice carrying military authority. "Under the National Superhuman Defense Act, I'm authorized to classify you as a WMD-level threat and respond accordingly." "I didn't assault anyone," Saitama said tiredly. "He threatened civilians. I stopped him by launching him into the stratosphere in front of millions of witnesses, causing mass panic and destabilizing the superhuman defense infrastructure of this entire nation. Carver gestured to the jets overhead. Those aircraft are carrying specialized ordnance designed to neutralize superhuman threats. Surrender now, submit to government custody, and we can resolve this peacefully. From the rooftop 3 blocks away, Butcher watched through his scope, his finger resting near the trigger. Huey, what kind of ordnance are those jets carrying? Huey's fingers flew across his keyboard. Oh shit! Oh shit! Billy, those are experimental. Compound V aerosol dispersal systems. They're designed to temporarily suppress superhuman abilities by flooding the target zone with an antagonist compound. Will it work on our bald friend? How the hell should I know? His powers don't even come from Compound V. They might just poison the entire area for nothing. Butcher made a decision. Get the van ready. If this goes sideways, we're extracting Saitama whether he likes it or not. You want to kidnap the guy who just punched Homelander into space? Demanded. I want to save the only weapon we've got against Vought before the government turns him into a lab experiment. Butcher adjusted his scope. Now move. On the street, Saitama looked at the military hardware surrounding him. Jets, helicopters, soldiers with weapons he didn't recognize. A month ago, this would have been exciting, a real challenge, something to test himself against. Now it just made him tired. I don't want to fight you, he said to General Carver. I don't want to fight anyone. I just want to go home. Then surrender. So you can lock me in a box and study me like Vought wanted to? Saitama shook his head. No thanks. I've read enough manga to know how that story ends. Carver's expression hardened. This isn't a negotiation. Either you comply or... The ground beneath them trembled. Not from Saitama, but from something else. A deep, rhythmic vibration that grew stronger with each pulse. Everyone looked up. The sky was tearing open again. Not a small rift like before, but a massive dimensional wound that stretched across 3 city blocks, bleeding colors that shouldn't exist and energies that made radiation detectors scream warnings. Through the tear, something was visible. Darkness, and within that darkness, movement. Something was coming through. Huey's computer erupted with data. Billy, I'm reading energy signatures off the chart. This makes Saitama's arrival look like a firecracker. Whatever's coming through is... The thing emerged. It was approximately 300 feet tall, vaguely humanoid but wrong, in ways that hurt to perceive. Its body seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, phases of itself overlapping and diverging. Eyes, if they were eyes, covered its form in asymmetric clusters. Its presence alone caused spontaneous nosebleeds in everyone within visual range. In Saitama's universe, the Hero Association would have classified it as God level immediately. The kind of threat that required every S-class hero working together, and even then, survival wasn't guaranteed. Here, the military's censors simply labeled it unknown threat level, extreme. The creature's voice, when it spoke, wasn't sound, but a psychic pressure that forced itself directly into every mind within a mile radius. Breach. Detected. Anomaly. Must be corrected. It focused its attention downward. Focused on Saitama. Dimensional. Displacement. Unacceptable. Target acquired. General Carver's training took over. All units, weapons free. Fire! Fire! The fighter jets released their payload. 6 missiles each, 36 total, carrying enough explosive force to level a city block. The Apache helicopters added their own firepower, chain guns, and rockets, saturating the target zone. The creature didn't even acknowledge the attack. The missiles and bullets passed through its body like it wasn't entirely there, detonating harmlessly against the dimensional tear behind it. It raised one massive limb, if it was a limb, and brought it down toward the crowd of civilians. Saitama moved. He launched himself upward, crossing 300 feet in a heartbeat, and caught the creature's limb mid-strike. The impact created a shock wave that shattered the dimensional rift further, widening it, destabilizing it. "Everyone run!" Saitama shouted down to the civilians. "Get away from here!" The creature's multiple eyes focused on him with what might have been surprise. "Anomaly! Identified! You do not belong!" "Yeah, I know," Saitama said, gritting his teeth as he held back several thousand tons of force. "That's what I've been trying to tell everyone, but every time I try to leave, someone attacks me. Then be corrected." The creature's body began to pulse with energy, building towards something catastrophic. Saitama could feel it. This thing wasn't here to fight. It was here to erase, to remove the dimensional anomaly by any means necessary, even if it meant destroying everything in a 5-mile radius. Which meant everyone in this area, the civilians, the soldiers, Starlight, even Ashley and her Vought personnel, they were all about to die. Unless Saitama stopped it. "Guess I don't have a choice," he muttered. He pulled back his fist, this time with actual intent behind it. Serious punch. The serious punch collided with the creature's dimensional form at the exact moment it unleashed its erasure wave. Two forces that shouldn't coexist in the same universe met in catastrophic opposition. Reality screamed. The impact created a sphere of pure white light that expanded outward from the collision point. Not heat, not radiation, but something more fundamental. A zone where physics temporarily forgot how to function, where the laws of thermodynamics took a coffee break, where matter and energy became negotiable concepts. Everyone within visual range felt it, a pressure against their souls, as if existence itself was holding its breath. Then the light collapsed inward, pulling the creature with it. The dimensional entity didn't die, things like it couldn't truly die, but Saitama's punch did something worse. It forced the creature back through the tear it had emerged from, collapsed the dimensional wound behind it, and sealed the rift with such overwhelming force that the very fabric of space between universes hardened like scar tissue. The creature's final psychic scream echoed in every mind. "Anomaly remains. Correction impossible." Then silence. The sky returned to normal blue. The dimensional tear was gone. The creature was gone. And Saitama floated in the air where both had been, his fist still extended, his cape fluttering in winds that were just starting to return to normal patterns. He descended slowly to the ruined street below. Every camera caught his landing. Every phone recorded the moment. The man who'd punched a god-level entity back into another dimension, who'd sealed a dimensional tear with his bare hands, who'd just saved millions of lives, standing there looking mildly annoyed with his whole situation. "Well," he said to nobody in particular, "that was inconvenient." General Carver stood frozen, his military training completely insufficient for processing what he'd just witnessed. His weapons hadn't even scratched that thing. His experimental ordnance had been useless, and this bald man in a costume had simply punched it away. What was that?" Carver managed. "Dimensional enforcement entity, probably," Saitama said, stretching his shoulder. "My universe has things that maintain cosmic balance. I guess other dimensions do too. It must have detected I didn't belong here and tried to correct the anomaly." "By destroying half of Manhattan," Ashley said, her voice hollow. "Yeah, these things don't really care about collateral damage." Saitama looked at the terrified civilians, the soldiers with their useless weapons, the Vought employees, all staring at him with expressions ranging from awe to terror. "Which is why I need to leave. As long as I'm here, more of those things might show up." Starlight stepped forward. "But you just sealed the rift. You heard that thing. It said correction was impossible." "For now," Saitama agreed. "But I'm still a dimensional anomaly. My presence here is destabilizing reality just by existing. Eventually something else will come to fix the problem. Something bigger." The implications hung in the air like a death sentence. "How do we send you back?" General Carver asked, his tactical mind already working through scenarios. "If you staying threatens reality itself, we need to—" "I don't know," Saitama admitted. "The creature's erasure wave. I felt something when it tried to remove me, like it was trying to target the connection between me and my home universe. Maybe if I could generate that same kind of energy, but controlled, I could. He trailed off, thinking. Huey's voice crackled through Butcher's earpiece, excited. "Billy, I think I know what he needs." When the creature attacked, our sensors registered a specific frequency of dimensional energy. If we could replicate that frequency, use it to target Saitama specifically, it might create a pathway home. "And how do we do that?" Butcher demanded. "We'd need a massive power source. Something that generates energy on a cosmic scale. Something like..." Huey's voice dropped. "Like Homelander's heat vision at maximum output, channeled through a dimensional resonance chamber." Butcher's smile was vicious. "You're telling me we need the cunt who's currently floating in the Atlantic? Unless you've got another soup who can generate that much power, yeah." On the street, Ashley was having the same realization. She pulled out her phone, made 3 calls in rapid succession, and turned to face Saitama with the desperate efficiency of someone whose entire empire depended on the next 60 seconds. "We can help you," she said. "Vought has experimental facilities that could theoretically generate the dimensional frequency needed to send you home. But we'd need a power source. We'd need..." She swallowed her pride. "We'd need Homelander. The guy I just punched into space?" Saitama asked. "He's already en route back," Ashley confirmed, checking her tablet. "ETA 20 minutes, and despite everything, despite his personality issues, his heat vision is the most powerful energy generation system on the planet." "Why would he help me?" Saitama asked reasonably. "I punched him twice, pretty hard." "Because the alternative is more dimensional entities showing up to kill everyone while trying to erase you," Starlight said. "Even Homelander's not psychotic enough to choose that." A voice from above, bitter and exhausted. "Wanna bet?" Homelander descended from the sky, his costume torn and burned, his perfect hair disheveled, his face carrying bruises that were already healing. He landed 50 feet away, maintaining distance, his body language screaming caution for the first time in his life. "You broke 3 of my ribs," Homelander said, his voice devoid of the usual bravado. "My ribs? Do you know how long it's been since I've felt pain? Real pain?" "Sorry," Saitama said. "You were threatening people. I've threatened people 1,000 times. Nobody ever..." Homelander gestured helplessly. "Nobody ever could stop me before." Why, the admission hung between them, a god confronting his own mortality, a monster recognizing something stronger than himself. "I need your help," Saitama said simply. Homelander laughed, but it sounded broken. "My help? The strongest man in the world needs my help. That's hilarious. I need to go home before more dimensional entities show up. Your power source combined with Vought's technology might be able to create a stable portal." Saitama met Homelander's eyes. "I'm asking, not forcing. Asking." The distinction clearly meant something to Homelander. Maybe it was the first time anyone had asked him for anything instead of demanding or manipulating. "And if I say no," he asked quietly, "then I'll find another way, and more people will probably die while I'm looking." Saitama's honesty was brutal. "I don't belong here. Every second I stay increases the risk of something worse than that creature showing up." Homelander looked at the destroyed street, the injured soldiers, the terrified civilians. For perhaps the first time in his life, he calculated something other than personal gain. "Vought Tower," he said finally. "Lab 7. They've got a dimensional resonance chamber they've been developing for years. Never got it working because we didn't have enough power." His smile was bitter. "Guess we do now." Ashley was already coordinating. "All personnel, converge on Vought Tower, priority Alpha. We're attempting controlled dimensional breach in..." She checked her watch. 90 minutes. The convoy mobilized immediately. Military, Vought, even the boys emerging from hiding to pile into vehicles. Everyone moving toward the same goal with the unified purpose of crisis, because they all understood. Saitama had saved them twice now. The least they could do was help him get home. In the back of Butcher's van, heading toward Vought Tower through evacuated streets, Saitama sat between crates of ammunition and surveillance equipment. "You know they're going to study you during this," Butcher said. "Take scans, collect data, analyze everything. Vought doesn't do anything for free." "I know," Saitama said. "But if it gets me home and stops dimensional monsters from destroying this city, it's worth it." "You're a right proper hero, ain't you?" Butcher's tone was halfway between mockery and respect. "Even in a world that tried to kill you, you're still trying to save it. That's what heroes do," Saitama said simply. Starlight, sitting across from him, smiled. "Maybe you can teach this world something before you leave." "Maybe," Saitama agreed, though he sounded doubtful. "But I think you were doing okay before I got here. At least you were trying." Through the window, Vought Tower rose against the skyline, a monument to corporate superheroism, to manufactured gods, to everything wrong with the boys' universe. And in 90 minutes, it would either send Saitama home or trigger another dimensional catastrophe that would make the previous entity look like a warm-up act. Vought Tower's Lab 7 existed 30 floors below ground level, buried beneath enough concrete and steel to survive a direct nuclear strike. The dimensional resonance chamber dominated the center of the space, a 50-foot spherical structure wrapped in superconducting coils, quantum processors, and enough cabling to wire a small city. Dr. Eleanor Chen, Vought's chief theoretical physicist, worked with frantic precision alongside her team. They'd spent 8 years developing this technology with no viable power source. Now they had 90 minutes to make it work or watch reality itself tear apart. Saitama stood in the center of the chamber, wearing sensor equipment that would have crushed a normal human under its weight. Around him, Homelander floated in a stabilized position, his body aligned with 12 focusing arrays designed to channel his heat vision into a single, coherent beam. "This is gonna hurt," Dr. Chen warned. "The dimensional frequency has to resonate with your specific quantum signature. It's going to feel like every atom in your body is vibrating at different speeds." "I've felt worse," Saitama said. "No, you haven't," she insisted. "This is theoretically the most painful experience a conscious being can endure without dying." "Oh." Saitama considered this. "Well, I really want to go home, so let's try anyway." In the observation room above, Ashley stood with General Carver, Stan Edgar, and the boys, unlikely allies united by necessity. Screens displayed telemetry data, energy readings, dimensional stability metrics. Everything was green. Everything was ready. Except Homelander. The strongest man in the world floated in position, staring at Saitama through the reinforced glass, and for the first time in his life, felt something like respect. "He could have killed me," Homelander said quietly into his calm. "Both times, he had every reason to. I threatened children, attacked civilians, tried to murder him repeatedly." He paused, but he didn't. "No," Starlight's voice came back through the channel. "He didn't, because he's what you were supposed to be." The words hit harder than any punch. Dr. Chen's countdown began. "Initializing dimensional resonance in 60 seconds. Homelander, on my mark. You'll need to maintain maximum heat vision output for 45 seconds. Any less, and the portal won't stabilize. Any more, and we risk catastrophic dimensional collapse." "Understood," Homelander said, his voice steady. 30 seconds. The chamber began to hum, a sound that bypassed ears and resonated directly in the chest. Reality around Saitama started to shimmer, like heat waves rising from summer pavement. 15 seconds. Saitama thought about his apartment in City Z, about the sale he'd missed, about Gino's probably freaking out about his disappearance, about King wondering where his video game partner went, about the simple, uncomplicated life of a hero in a world where heroes actually meant something. 10 seconds. Homelander, prepare for activation. Through the observation window, Butcher watched with mixed emotions. Part of him wanted to keep Saitama here. The perfect weapon against Vought, against corrupt soups, against everything wrong with their world. But the bigger part, the part that remembered what justice actually looked like, knew this was right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark! Homelander's heat vision activated at full power, channeled through the focusing arrays, converted into dimensional frequency by technology that shouldn't exist. The beams converged on Saitama in a spiral of energy that looked like a newborn star. The pain was instantaneous. Dr. Chen hadn't lied. Every atom of Saitama's being vibrated at different frequencies. His consciousness spread across multiple dimensional states simultaneously. He gritted his teeth and endured, because that's what heroes did. The dimensional tear opened behind him, not violent like before, but controlled, surgical, a doorway carved through reality itself. Through it, glimpses of another world, a city with different architecture, different sky, different physical laws. Home. 40 seconds, Dr. Chen announced. Portal stabilizing. Saitama, you need to move through now. But Saitama hesitated, looking through the reinforced glass at the people who'd tried to kill him, studied him, and ultimately helped him. At Starlight, who'd risked everything to speak truth. At the boys, who fought impossible battles against impossible odds. At Homelander, who for 45 seconds was choosing to be something other than a monster. "Thank you," he said simply. Then he stepped through the portal. The transition was instantaneous. One step in the boy's universe, the next in his own. He felt the shift immediately. Reality snapping back into proper alignment, dimensional pressure releasing, the universe sighing in relief as its anomaly corrected itself. Behind him, the portal collapsed with a sound like thunder played backward. Saitama stood on a familiar street in City Z, evening sunlight painting the buildings orange. His apartment was 3 blocks away. The supermarket with his sale was probably closed by now. And somewhere in the city, heroes were doing actual hero work without corporate sponsors or PR campaigns. "Sensei," Janos' voice cut through his relief. The cyborg appeared from around a corner, his sensors going haywire. "You vanished during the battle with that god-level threat. I've been searching for 17 hours. Where did you—" "Different universe," Saitama said, already walking toward his apartment. "Long story, very weird. I'm tired." "Different universe? Sensei, we need to report this to the Hero Association. Dimensional travel represents unprecedented—" "Janos." "Yes, Sensei. I really just want to take a bath and go to bed." In the boy's universe, Lab 7 fell silent as the portal closed. The dimensional resonance chamber powered down. Homelander's heat vision faded. Dr. Chen's team erupted in celebration. They'd successfully executed humanity's first controlled dimensional breach and return. But in the observation room, the assembled group simply stood in silence, processing what they'd witnessed. A hero, an actual hero, uncorruptible, impossibly powerful, and genuinely good, dropping into their corrupt world, exposing every lie, and then choosing to leave rather than conquer. "The footage is everywhere," Huey said quietly, scrolling through his laptop. "Every moment, every fight, every word. People are calling him the real hero. They're comparing him to—" He glanced at Homelander. "Well, to what everyone thought heroes were supposed to be." Homelander stood at the observation window, staring at where the portal had been. His reflection in the glass looked tired, beaten, and perhaps, just perhaps, thoughtful. "Ashley," he said finally. "Yes?" "Schedule a press conference tomorrow. Prime time." His voice was quiet, stripped of usual bravado. "I have some things to say about what actually happened here." Ashley and Stan Edgar exchanged glances. This wasn't the Homelander they knew. The narcissist, the monster, the barely controlled weapon. This was something new. Something that had been punched into him by someone stronger. perspective. In the days that followed, the boys' universe began to shift. Slowly, painfully. Homelander's press conference admitted to orchestrated rescues, corporate manipulation, and performance-enhanced heroism. Vought's stock crashed, then rebuilt under new management with new principles. The Seven disbanded, reformed with actual oversight. Laws changed, accountability emerged. It wasn't perfect. Corruption didn't vanish overnight, but a seed had been planted, the memory of what a real hero looked like. And sometimes, late at night, people across the world would watch footage of a bald man in a cheap yellow costume protecting civilians, punching monsters, and asking for nothing in return. The real hero, they called him, the one who reminded them what they'd lost, and what they could become again. In City Z, Saitama never knew about any of it. He went back to his sales, his video games, his simple apartment, his uncomplicated heroism. He punched monsters, saved people, and complained about missing discounts. But on particularly quiet nights, he'd sometimes think about that other universe, the one where heroes had forgotten what they were supposed to be, and whether his brief visit had changed anything. He hoped it had, because that's what heroes did, even when no one was watching. Even when they'd never know if it mattered. They tried anyway. New worlds await. More stories soon.